you all
Amen.
from our text in Matthew, the 2nd chapter, verses 1 through 12. Matthew, the 2nd chapter, verses 1 through 12. We have it in me saying that.
Amen.
Now, when Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem, saying, where is he that is born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east, and are come to worship him. When Herod the king had heard these things, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. And when he had gathered all the chief priests and the scribes of the people together, he demanded of them where Christ should be born. And they said unto him, in Bethlehem of Judea. For thus it is written by the prophet, and thou, Bethlehem, in the land of Judea, art not the least among the princes of Judah. For out of three shall come a governor that shall rule my people Israel. Then Herod, when he had privately called the wise men, inquired of them diligently what time the star appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem, and said, go and search diligently for the young child. And when ye find him, bring me word again, that I may come and worship him also. When they had heard the king, they departed, and lo, the star which they saw in the east went before them. It came and stood over where the young child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy. And when they were come into the house, they saw the young child with Mary his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented unto him gifts, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And being warned of God in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed into their own country another way. Turn to somebody and tell them there is another way.
There is another way.
May God be a blessing to the reading and hearing of this anointed word, and after they have the courage to teach it. If you all will pray with me and pray for me but for a few moments, I want to live from this text, and I want to use as a teaching thought the missing Christ of Christmas. I want to teach today, and I want to talk from the subject, the missing Christ of Christmas. In my research, Elder Williams, I'm going to Wikipedia and some other places, Brother Joe, I was informed that Christmas is an annual festival commemorating the birth of Jesus Christ, observed primarily on December 25th as a religious and cultural celebration among billions of people around the world. I went on to ask myself the question, and I wrote down and said, how is Christmas typically observed, Sister Skyler, when we look at the Christmas season, when we take a look at this time, Mother Diane, that we set aside for honoring the Christ child? How do we typically celebrate or honor him during this Christmas season? And there's a short list, not all inclusive. Usually, Elder starts by decorating the tree in the house on December 1st. And then there is Black Friday or Mall Madness. there are usually gift wrapping parties. There are many who make gingerbread houses. There are random parties from house to house. Not to mention Christmas movie night. And family game night. And then finally it culminates or has its crescendo at gift exchange and the opening of gifts on Christmas morning. I want to talk about today because there's a problem. In the litany of things that I just read to me, the list of things that I just talked about, Minister Melanie, not one time did I mention or include Christ in any of those activities. It's ironic, Mother Harriet, that this day, which by the way, he was not born on December 25th, but for purposes of being consistent, thank God we have Sunday set aside to acknowledge the one who gave so much for us.
Amen.
It's ironic, Mr. Melanie, that with a list, which is again not all inclusive, it's amazing how Christ is not involved in any of those activities. Turn to somebody and ask them, where is Christ?
Where is Christ?
Christmas has become commercialized.
Well,
But the concern is Christmas no longer includes Christ. We see everything and everyone except for Christ during the holiday season. When we look at TV commercials, they talk about everything from the sale of cars to new technology being introduced. I wish somebody pray with me. But it's amazing how, as we see all of these things, all of these commercials, all of the things that are being said about the celebration of the holiday season, Deacon LeGrand, there's no mention or even citing of Christ. Many people have even replaced Christ in the wording of the holiday, and now it's Merry Xmas. I wish somebody prayed with me. And so it's amazing, Sister Iwilla, that the holiday that has been set aside for the one who has given and sacrificed and done so much for us, now it has been reduced to and has included not him. Right? Are you hearing me? Turn to somebody and ask them, where's Christ? Where's Christ? I want to, today if I could, I want to take the liberty of the wings, and I just believe if I divulge how the Spirit of God is leading me, that I should be in bounds. Well, I want to speak from our text, but I want to, amen, I want to take a very unique approach in looking at the traditional sense of talking about the wise men who sought for this Christ child. We know in theological and biblical accuracy, we know that the wise men, the Magi, came from the east. It's very well documented that Herod had heard that they were also on the search for the Christ child. Deacon LeGrand, you're a theological student. We know that Herod, because of his concern, there was talk about him being replaced as the king. And how many of us know folks don't like being replaced?
right.
And so Herod got word that there was a new king that was born, and so he asked them to bring the Magi, and he dialogued with them. And he had asked them, he said, I know you're searching, paraphrase, he said, I know you're searching for the Christ child. What I'd like for you to do is go to Bethlehem. I heard that he was there. Go to Bethlehem, find the child, and I want you to bring me word back that you found him. Tell me where you found him so I can worship him too.
Right.
Then somebody asked him, where's Christ?
Where's Christ?
So I want to take a very unique approach today, something I want to talk from the subject, the missing Christ of Christmas.
Right.
Number one, let's go, Ricky. Number one. Everybody is not looking for Christ for the same reason.
Come on.
Go ahead.
Come on. Amen.
Turn to somebody and ask them, why did you come to church? I found, beloved, that folks come for a variety of reasons. And those reasons don't always include Christ. Don't get quiet on it.
Come on, Bishop, preach.
The Bible said that the Magi were looking for the Christ child, that they had journeyed from a long distance, Joe, to find the one who had now been prophetically spoken about, and they now had saw the star, which was a sign that the king, the new king, the Son of God himself had been born. The wise men desired to worship and honor the king of prophecy. But we have to understand that Herod, who had others looking for him, desired to kill the king and the prophecy. See, we have to be mindful, Sister Scholar. Everybody doesn't have the same agenda that we do. Everybody doesn't have the same focus to me that we do. And so be very careful. Be very careful. And even those who say they love you the most, those who support you the most, those who have your best interests at heart.
Come on, Bishop. That's good teaching.
I want to encourage us, we're in the latter day. And in these latter days, it says that men will become lovers of self more than lovers of God.
Yes. Come on, say the book.
I'm going to teach you what you like.
Come on, Bishop.
It's right, what is right.
You see, everybody who says that they're looking for Christ is not looking for Christ for the same reason that you are. I've found that most people, many people, unfortunately, don't have a need for the Lord until they need something.
Oh, go ahead, Bishop. Come on here.
Come on now.
All right.
We're not unlike
Teach, Bishop.
the soldier, the commander of the army who came to Christ and said, one of mine is at home sick, and Christ said, I'll come. And he said, no, I don't need you to come. I know you have the authority to speak a word.
All right.
But see, he wasn't seeking him for the Son of God. He wasn't seeking him as the Messiah. He was seeking him because he needs something cured. How was somebody talking?
Right.
See, everybody doesn't have the same agenda. They don't have the same reason. Sometimes we just ought to seek God because he's God.
Yes. Hallelujah.
Sometimes we ought to just acknowledge the Lord just because he's our Savior. He has already, how many of us know he's
Hallelujah.
In the book of St. John, 6th chapter, verse number 26. Come on, Rick. In St. John 6:26, Jesus answered them and said, verily, verily, or truly, truly, I say unto you, ye seek me not because ye saw the miracles, but because ye did eat the loaves and were filled. They followed him, watch this, they followed Jesus, they followed the Messiah, not because he was the Son of the living God, they followed him because he had fed them, and they said, we want to go with food in. Sometimes folks won't show up unless there's a meal.
All right. Speak it. Come
Some
on,
folks ain't gonna be
Bishop.
about turn to somebody and look and say, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? What's in it for me? So Lord spoke to them and said, you're not following me because I'm the Messiah. You're not following me because I've done great miracles. You're following me because you want more to eat. I'm here today to tell us we got to kill off that spirit inside of us.
Yes.
We have to stop desiring the gift, and we ought to want the gift giver.
That's right.
Are you hearing me? In Romans, the 16th chapter, verse 18, write it down. Romans 16 and 18, it says these words. It said, for they that are such serve not our Lord Jesus Christ, but their own belly. And by good words and fair speeches deceive the hearts of the simple. See, now he's chastising leaders.
Come on.
Paul is calling out leaders who, in the last day, who will be more concerned about self than they are the interests of the people.
Come on.
He said that they will serve not Jesus. Their motive, Deacon LeGrand, for wanting to be in leadership is not to do the work that God has called them to do. It will be for recognition. It will be for what they can gain. It will be for notoriety. It will be for everything. Don't you know that you can't take God's glory? We cannot take God's glory and not fall under the wrath of God. Finally, in Philippians 2 and 21, write down Philippians 2:21. Paul again now talking to the church at Philippi. It says, for all seek their own, not the things which are of Jesus Christ. We've got to consider our motive.
Yes. Yes.
This is my motive. Why do I want to help? Do I want to help because I want some?
Right.
Do I want to help because if I help then you owe me some? Or do I want to help because I'm grateful that God has made provisions and I'm called to help and to serve? Jesus himself, watch this. Christ himself said at the time, I didn't come to be served, I came to serve. I didn't come to be ministered to, I came to minister. We have to take on the mind of Christ and say, we're not here to be served. If we walk through these doors, God has already done enough, hasn't he? What else does he need to do? Are you hearing me?
Yeah.
Number two, let's move, Rick. Number two, I only got 3 today. Number 2. When you find them, what do you have to offer? The Bible said that the Magi, the wise men, that they came bearing gifts. Gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Is that right?
Amen.
They brought gifts that were appropriate to honor him, not only for who he was, but who he was to them. See, if you study, and I'm not going to go into it now because I want to talk about Christ's message. But if you study, and I've talked about it, I've preached about it, I've taught in this subject, that each of the things that they brought to Christ meant something. They brought specific gifts, and the gold meant something. The frankincense meant something. The myrrh definitely meant something.
Yes.
So I would encourage you to go home and do your own reading.
Come on.
Go home and do your own study. Tell me what I tell you. We can go to Google. Google it. Just Google it. It'll tell you everything you need to know. But the question today is, secondly, when you find him, what do you, turn to somebody, look at him, point and say, what do you?
What do you?
What do you have to offer him? Let me suggest 3 things that we ought to be offering to Christ when we find him.
All right.
The first is worship.
Yes.
Right.
The second thing is our works.
Yes.
And then finally should be our witness. We ought to worship God every day we get up.
Yes.
When our feet hit the ground, we ought to hit the ground in worship.
Yes. Hallelujah.
When what others have gone through. And the reality is that all of us are going to go through something. And so your post was very appropriate because so many of us take health for granted. Y'all ain't saying nothing to me.
Come on, baby.
They're here now. Let me be extremely transparent, extremely candid. These two men are my heroes. My brother Sam started me out. I started playing organized sports when I was 7 years old. He was my first coach. Lied and said I was 8 years old because you couldn't join the boys club. We in church, so I got to tell the truth. He lied and said I was 8, but I was really 7 years old. My very first coach. He started me out playing organized sports when I was 7 years old. My brother Clifford, a gifted athlete across the board, primarily a baseball player, had an opportunity to play professionally, but he chose family over professionalism. So these men have been my heroes, but it's an amazing thing when I watch them go through their transition and their hard time with health issues. And I don't believe that you have to wait until you become somebody else in order to learn from what somebody else went through. So every single day I'm grateful that I can learn from great leaders who suffer with dignity and went through with dignity and believed their gods in dignity and trusted. And I remember, and again I'll be transparent, I remember I was going to the national convention, me and my son Matthew. We were going to the convention in Dallas and we traveled all night, and so my phone was off. And so we landed in the airport, Mother Harry. We were catching the tram to the hotel. Anybody been to the Dallas airport? You know that the hotel is connected. We were catching the tram, and then it hit me, and I thought, oh man, my phone has been off all night. So I turned my phone on. When I turned my phone on, my phone just blew up with text messages and dings because somebody left me urgent messages and everything. So I went to check my messages, and they were trying to tell me that my brother Clifford had received word that they needed him to get to the hospital 15 minutes for them to do his kidney transplant.
Wow.
But watch this. But he said, "You're not doing nothing until I pray with my brother."
Yeah!
And I prayed with him, and he said, "I'm good now, take me in."
Yeah.
2 years as a testament to God. So why would we not worship God? Listen, we can read about Moses, and we can read about Noah, and we can read about Paul and Silas. I'm telling you, we got living witnesses right in our presence to let us know that God is real. You are the testament that God is real. You ought to be praising God from addictions, from depression. You ought to be praising God every time you. What do you have to offer God? What do you have to offer? Lord, I offer you my words. I come to worship you. You've been gracious to me, God. You have been faithful to me, God. Even when I was not faithful to you, you are faithful to me. Somebody give God praise to me. In Romans 12, let's go. Romans 12:2. What do we give? What is he worthy? What do we give God? The scripture says in Romans 12:1, it says, I beseech you therefore, brother, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. See, God is not asking you to do anything unreasonable. And so what do we have to offer to God? Just we ought to offer him our mind, our body, our soul. How many of been bought with a price. And so your life is not even your own. In John, the 4th chapter, verses 23 and 24, write it down. St. John's 4, 23 and 24. Here's what Christ was saying. He said, but the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshiper, somebody shout true worship. Somebody shout true worship. When the true worshiper shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For the Father seeketh such to worship him. God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. I don't know why in the world somebody would have to pump you up, come to the door, praise and worship. I don't know why somebody would be able to pull your attention away from praise and worship. Maybe that can wait until after service. Maybe you can talk to me about that tomorrow. Maybe we can deal with that later. But right now, I'm grateful to be in the house of God, and we are to be using every moment to praise and worship God. I want to see the church catch on fire. Go through life, so let's go.
Thank you, Jesus. Oh, glory. Thank you. Hallelujah, Jesus.
Once you find it,
Yeah.
y'all better get this. Once you find it, it ought to cause you to go a different direction. The Bible said, Brother Jeff, that when they found the Christ child, that they worshipped him
Praise
and
God.
presented him gifts, that they were witnesses that he was the Messiah. The Bible said that God spoke to them in a dream and told them, don't you go back to heaven. And out of obedience to the voice of God, the Bible said that they returned to their country a different way. I told you in the first thought, everybody don't have the same agenda you do. Herod told them, come back and let me know where you find him, that I can worship him too. But how many of us know the devil is a lie? And the father of lies. And so God spoke to them in a dream, and God's speaking to some of you in a dream. God's speaking to some of you, you taking naps during the day, God's speaking to you. He's stirring you asleep at night. You can't even rest because he's talking to you. I'm giving it out, Willa, because God is speaking in this season, and some of you are losing sleep because God is speaking to you, and you're operating in disobedience and rebellion, because exactly what God says is exactly what he wants you to do. And so he spoke to them in a dream, and he told them, do not return that way. What I'm suggesting to us today is when we find Christ, and when we really get to know the Lord, we don't go back another way. Why not go back to where God delivered me from? Why not go back to the same mind, the same action, the same responses? I ought to talk different, and I ought to act different, I ought to live different, I ought to do different. Turn to somebody and say, we can do better. Thanks be to God that when God changed our life, that he changed the way that I do things. See, having a true encounter with Christ will cause a change in our lives. Having a true encounter with Christ will cause us to go a different direction. People may have or attempt to put expectations on your life, but you've got to learn this is not about living for mama, not about living for daddy. This is not about living for your family, your spouse. This is about living for God. Can't nobody die for you and send you to hell, and can't nobody die for you and send you to heaven. And so we need to learn how to die away from folk, and we need to learn how to live with Jesus. Put your hand like this. Put folk away. Put folk away and live for Jesus. Come on, man. Put folk away and live for Jesus. Put folk away and live for Jesus. In Jeremiah 29 and 11, I got a few scriptures left. In Jeremiah 29 and 11, Write it down. It says, "For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, saith the Lord. Thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end." When God sent them out on the journey, He knew what their end was going to be. For some of you here today, you're on a journey. You're still searching. You're still looking. You're still wandering. Be encouraged today, because God knows when He sent you out, He was sending you to an expected end. And I want you to know, if you haven't arrived yet, you just haven't arrived. And God is still working it out. Tell somebody, tell them He's still working it out. Praise be to God that God is still working it out. In the book of Psalms, in the 37th number and the 23rd stanza, write it down. Psalms 37 and 23, he said these words. He said, "The steps of a good man." Somebody should have shouted like that. I declare in this house that the steps of a good man. Y'all can catch that. I said the steps of a good man. The steps of a good woman. You declare that I am good. I made a step carry your feet and tell the devil my steps are ordered by God. If you are a son or daughter, if you are a believer, I dare you to declare for yourself, my steps are ordered by God. I've been free, I've been delivered, come on, tell somebody I've been healed. My steps are ordered by God. I can hear God's voice talking to me. The Bible says that sheep will hear His voice, and a stranger they will not follow. I'm here to declare for myself that my steps are ordered by God. You may not like it, you may not agree, but I want you to know that every step that I take is ordered by God. Hallelujah. In Isaiah 42, verses 18 to 19, it said, "Remember ye not the former things, neither consider the things of old." He said, "Behold, I'm doing a new thing." Anybody here that can tell the devil that God is doing a new thing in my life? When God came into my life, He turned my steps around. He turned my mind around. And He's doing a new thing in my life. Give me about 10 people that will celebrate Jesus. That when I found Jesus, He turned my life around. That when I found Jesus, when I came into a relationship with my Lord and Savior, He turned my life around. Is there anybody here that can tell the devil, He turned my life around? Is there anybody here that can shake the devil? Say, He turned my life around. Give God a praise. The Bible says in Ephesians, the 5th chapter, verse number 8, it said, "For ye were sometimes darkness, but now ye are light of the Lord. And so walk as children of the light." It's time for us to follow the word of God. The Bible said, "Let your light shine, that men may see your good works and bless your Father which is in heaven." We gotta put Christ back in the equation. He is the light of the world. Is there anybody here that can tell your neighbor, He's my light and He's your light? And we gotta let our light shine. There's somebody in darkness can see their way out. Is there anybody here that remembers your day when you saw the light for He said, write these things.
Yes, Lord.
And he spoke to one of the churches, one of the campus
Hallelujah, Jesus.
heads.
Mm.
And he said, return to your first love.
Yes. Yes.
I'm here today to encourage someone.
Thank you.
Return to your first love.
Yes. Yes.
Now, I'm not a hypocrite. And so I can be transparent. There's nobody in this house who loves Christmas as much as I do. Nobody who has wonderful memories. I remember when I was 6 years old, my brothers are there, and I had pneumonia. And I remember Mom rubbing me down with that alcohol.
Yeah.
And I remember they bought me that electric car. And that was the greatest joy. So I'm not a hypocrite. And I'm not going to cheat my family
Yes.
out of enjoying Christmas. That's not what this is about. But we got to learn to keep everything in context.
Right.
And so I can go through the traditionalism of enjoying Christmas.
Yes.
But I'm never going to let anything displace God out of my life. So I would be remiss. We're going to wrap gifts. And we're going to laugh. And we're going to have fun. And we're going to eat some good stuff. But we're going to do it knowing that it's just a work. And that we're grateful to have to be able to do it. And we're going to bless families. And we're going to bless kids who may not have a meal. And who may not have gifts. And so it's not about us being in there. That's just how, anybody know that God will give you a bonus? That's just a bonus that we get to laugh and have fun together. But we're doing that only because we got work to do.
Yes.
Somebody here under the sound of my voice, every head bowed. Somebody here under the sound of my voice. Maybe today is your day. And maybe for whatever reason, and here's what you need to know, it does not matter. It doesn't matter why or how it happened. But if Christ has been removed, and this you know for yourself, if Christ has been removed, come now, let me pray with you.